For thousands of years, we've been under the impression the Bible is meant to be taken seriously. Finally, a new translation that'll change all that. This is Oh My God, What the Fuck Bible.
Reach out, touch faith.
Welcome to Season 5, Episode 9 of Oh My God, What the Fuck Bible with me, David Tuchman, at my house. Each week on the show, a guest joins me and tries to read a big chunk of my own personal translation of the Hebrew Bible while I make fun of it. And this time we're reading a portion known in Hebrew as Ha'azinu and in English as You'll See. There is only one episode left after this. This is the second to last episode. Oh my God, here we go! I want to welcome to the show she's a multidisciplinary artist, perhaps best known for some of her work on the street. You may have seen her on Instagram, her Instagram account, or just walking around the streets of New York, particularly Manhattan or Brooklyn. Please welcome to the show, Sara Erenthal. Hi, Sarah. How are you doing today?
Hi, David. I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. I'm doing well on this lovely fall day. Weather is here.
Yes.
I wanted to talk to you, as I do all my guests, a little bit about your background. Would it be possible for you to tell us a little bit about like your religious background, how you grew up in religion?
Sure. I was born in Israel in an extreme ultra-Orthodox Jewish community in a very particular extreme group called Neturei Karta.
Mm-hmm.
My family moved to Brooklyn when I was a very young child, and I was basically raised within a Hasidic girls' school system. Lived in Borough Park and went to school in Williamsburg, and got like a very basic education. And I left that world about 20 or so years ago, and I'm now secular human.
Okay, you're just a person now.
Yeah.
Yeah. That must have been, so from my perspective, I left, I would say, oh my gosh, almost 20 years ago. I'm suddenly realizing my age. But, I think now the narratives of people who leave are people who are discovering the internet. There are a lot of communities online. Did that kind of community of people who are off the derech, so to speak, or of people who are leaving these more cloistered communities, did that kind of thing exist for you, or were you a little bit more on your own?
No, I was absolutely on my own. The internet was just starting
Yeah.
when I was leaving, and I definitely didn't have access to the beginning of it. No, I left completely on my own without any previous connections to other people that have left or even knowledge to what the world is like. I just knew that I needed to go to it. So, I left with no network.
Well, that must have been very scary, but also very exciting, the way you're describing, like you had to be a part of this other world.
Yeah, I got to sort of create my own learning. Um, and without anyone to show me the way, which I find actually to be a good thing, because I find that it's so easy to get stuck from like growing up religious to being in this like ex-religious world.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when you do it on your own, I feel like you get to find whatever you are on your own in a different way, and I think that's really good.
That's good. And now you make art. I've seen a lot of your art in my neighborhood or on the street. It's been popping up a lot more recently. It looks like sometimes you just use found objects, really, like trash that people have put out, and you draw these really striking, like simple line drawings on it. But sometimes you do mural art. Can you talk about how you developed your style or how you came to that?
Sure. I started practicing art seriously about 10 years ago. I was always making art, but I didn't see it as something that I was good at, um, because I was doing other things and working just jobs and surviving. And about 10 years ago, I lost a job and went on this long backpacking trip, ended up in India for a while, and found myself with a lot of free time, and the first time in my life really with like no responsibilities. And I started drawing every day, and I started discovering my giant love for it and what it does for me and that it's healing. Um, I started doing a lot of very simple sort of line doodles, you may say. But then I started drawing little Indian girls because they kind of reminded me of me as a little child, and um, Indian village women with their tikhels. And I realized that when I was making these portraits, I was drawing myself, I was drawing my family, I was drawing my mother. Um, and I felt this amazing release, and also a way to reconnect with something that is is something I left in the past, but never
Mm.
really dealt with it. So I found that I was like letting go by creating it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, dealing with a lot of things that I was kind of like blocking out of my life, of my mind, to be able to stay sane. But I realized that blocking out is not really the best way to deal with things. So it really gave me like a purpose and a voice, and I started, doing more of that. And when I came back to New York, I started painting. And so I would say like the first couple of years was mostly focused on studio work. I'm self-taught, so just like exploring a lot, and painting about my experiences. And I mean, doing also some other stuff like some sculpture and mixed media. Um, the street is definitely an evolution that came from um, reusing materials. I would always look for canvas that I could use, and there's so much of it on the street, like pieces of furniture and stuff like that that I would bring home to
Mm-hmm.
work on. And one day I couldn't carry something, and it just kind of it hit me that I just can draw on it and leave it, and it just kind of turned into this like really cool project that um, basically I started noticing things that I wouldn't otherwise notice, like a mattress or a refrigerator that I wouldn't exactly try to pick up, but just something that is on the street and sitting there. I noticed, like, for example, an old TV that was sitting on the street corner for years. And this was in
Mm-hmm.
Crown Heights. I mean, not years, sorry, months. I'm a little tired.
I believe it.
Uh, well, maybe. Um, and I was like, oh, let me see what would happen if I turned it into art. So I drew on it, and the next day I came back and it was kind of flipped backwards. I'm like, oh, weird. Like, people seem to be so used to seeing trash on the street and things sitting out that they don't even pay attention to it. And that as soon as it's become something more like art, it becomes more obvious that the trash exists.
Yes.
So I flipped it back around, and the next day again, it was like I had this like invisible war with someone that was not very happy about what I did. And after about 5 days, it disappeared. And I'm like, oh, cool, I cleaned this street corner. Um, so it just kind of became a little fun thing. And these portraits that I do are what I call subconscious self portraits. So I just started drawing it like on everything I could see, and spent a couple of years doing that. And then at some point, I was like feeling like extremely overwhelmed, and I started writing some of my feelings
Mm-hmm.
on my pieces, and then it just kind of became this like massive part of my life where I go on these like long walks, and or even unplanned, like just on my way somewhere, and I would see something and it would immediately inspire me to do something. Um, this entire period, I'm still also creating studio work
Mm-hmm.
and showing my work, and mural work. I started also about 5 years ago. I've always had a love for writing on walls. I feel like it's extremely liberating, and it's a really great way to scream. Um, and but I didn't really know how to get, you know, opportunities. And then I just started talking to a local business in Park Slope and asked them if I can paint their gate, and they let me. And that kind of like opened up, possibilities, and just learning to ask.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, and I just kind of started, painting big murals, and mostly I focus on like where I live, building relationships with business owners and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, then at some point I started traveling the world again, and started looking for spaces to work, and I also have been invited to participate in festivals. And so yeah, I'm basically always on the hunt for places to create. And
Yeah.
I really think the this public space is designed for art, and
Yeah.
making creating art in the street makes art really accessible.
Yeah, and I think it transforms the spaces that we live in and we walk in all the time. And I think there's something very special to me about seeing your art because it feels like, especially when it's on trash or something that's been left out there, as opposed to a mural or something that's been commissioned, just because it feels like, oh, Sarah was there, she did that. Like there's just this feeling that like you saw something, like you as a human being saw something and were inspired in that moment to create something then and there and leave it
Yeah.
there and
That,
turn that trash into something beautiful or a piece of
right.
art.
And it's also really temporary. Like
Yes,
most
exactly.
of it doesn't last
Yeah.
for like more than a day. I also noticed over time that I've been doing this that a lot of my work gets adopted.
Yes.
Um, so people, I'm actually creating a new life, which I'm very much into this idea of like rebirthing myself and recreating and taking other things that are unwanted and giving them purpose and value.
Yeah, it takes something that was refuse and turns it into something that people want and will like honor and respect and put in their place.
Yeah.
Taking something profane and making it holy, which is kind of
Yeah.
the opposite of what I do on this podcast.
That's funny.
Speaking of, so in your religious childhood, in your very religious childhood, did you um, study Torah a lot? Was that something that was part of your education?
Actually, as a woman in the type of environment that I grew up in, we did not study Torah at all. We had a we learned the parsha, but it was a very specific little part of it that was sort of cut out and translated to teach us something that was relatable to what they wanted us to learn. A lot of it with morals and stories with morals and how to be a good Jewish woman.
Mm-hmm.
And um, yeah, I actually have a painting that I made. It's part of a series that sort of tells my life story. And there's one particular painting in the series called Be'ikvei Hatzain, which translates to "In the Footsteps of the Sheep,"
Mm-hmm.
and it's about my education. And it kind of represents around fourth grade, and there's a blackboard in the painting, and the teacher is teaching the story of Parshas Vayera and how the story of how Abraham's wife
Hagar?
stayed in her tent while the angels came to visit her,
Oh, sorry, yeah.
and the yeah, and how the moral of the story is that you just need to be you know a good, shy, submissive housewife and not be tempted, and not just stay in your place.
Mm-hmm.
um so yeah, but that really, that to me, that really represents what kind of education I received.
Right. Okay. So this is going to be very different for you, I think.
Yeah,
This kind
no,
of
I
approach.
honestly never opened up a Bible um and tried to read it, so it's definitely interesting.
All right. Well, let's do it. Are you ready to read the Bible?
Sure.
All right. This is Torah, a loose translation, book 5, words, episode or section 10, Lend Me Their Ears, chapter 50, in which there is a long hectoring song, Deuteronomy 32:1 to 32:43. Yes, this is all just a song. You don't have to sing. Don't worry, Sarah, if you don't want to. Go ahead.
Okay. Let the skies lend me their ears and I will speak. The ground will listen to what my mouth says. My words will fall like the rain, gather like dew, like mist on the sproutlings, on showers, or showers on the grass, because I call the name Jehovah. Bring greatness to our Elohim. He is the rock.
So you didn't know that Dwayne The Rock Johnson was a biblical character, didn't you? That's a biblical name.
No, I did not. um, Everything he does is pure. All his paths are of justice. He is an El of faith. Never bad. He is righteous and straight. The misbegotten children of perverted, twisted generation. They heard it. Is this how you treat Jehovah? You pointless people who are not smart at all?
Wow, he had so many things for all those like building up God, but then falls flat on the insults, I feel like.
Yeah, this is a little degrading.
Yeah.
Uh, isn't it your father who created you, made you, and kept you? Remember the days of yore, the years of generations before. Ask your father, and he will tell you.
But don't ask him when he's sitting in a special chair drinking his juice. He will not want to talk to you.
And your elders, they'll say it to you.
They will not stop saying it though.
When the glorious one divided the nations and split up the sons of man, he set the borders based on the names of the sons of Israel. The part that belongs to Jehovah would become the portion of Yaakov.
So I want to say, as far as songs go, this is not a good song. I don't like.
It's really weird.
It's a weird song. There's a lot of poetic language, but
I
it's not really
noticed
going
that.
anywhere. Yeah,
Yeah, but it's just kind of like just some weird like
it's all over the place. There's no verse. There's no chorus.
no. I actually thought I should try to read it with like reading part of one sentence and then pretending that the middle of it is a new sentence. It might sound more interesting.
You can try.
All right, let me try to continue. He found him in a yawning desert wasteland. He surrounded him, built him up, and protected him like the apple of his eye. Like an eagle protecting its nestlings, he spread his wings and took him, carrying him on their edges.
That's nice.
Yeah. Definitely there's like I do see some poetic value here.
Yeah. It is pretty. I'm not going to hate on it. I didn't do too much funny stuff with the translation here.
But I kind of wish you did.
Yeah.
Jehovah, not some other El, showed him the way. He put him on the top of the land, fed him the best of the field, honey from the stone and oil from the flint.
Those are impossible. Sorry, God.
Butter from the cattle and milk from the goat.
Okay, not miraculous at all. So
With the best lambs and rams that are the sons of Bashan. The best possible wheat, and you drank grape blood.
grape blood, yes. That is what I'm going to call wine from now on.
That's what they're referring to, right?
Yeah,
Interesting. I like that actually.
I like it. Pass me the grape blood. Just go to a restaurant and order some grape blood. See what they say.
I'd love that.
After COVID, of course.
Yeshurun grew fat and despised. You got fat, disgusting, and mean. What?
Just fat shaming.
Terrible. What the fuck? He gave away his Elohim who made him and left the rock that was his savior. They upset him with strangeness, made him mad with disgusting things. They made sacrifices to demons, to things that were not Els, to Elohims they didn't know, to new ones who just showed up and never spooked your fathers. You left the rock of your birth.
I
You
guess I smell
forgot
what
that
he was cooking.
you left the rock of your birth. You forgot the El who brought you here. Jehovah saw and threw away his sons and daughters in anger. I will hide my face from them, he said. Then I'll see how they do.
So petty. So petty.
They are two-faced. They are a two-faced generation, children with no faith in them. They made me hot with anti-Els, made me angry with their fertilities. And I will piss them off by making them an anti-nation.
It's getting very weird and metaphysical.
Make them angry by making them a useless tribe. There's a fire in me that has burned to the bottom of Sheol. How do you say that? Sheol?
Sheol?
Sheol. That has eaten the land and what it's made to the bottom of the hills.
It's very like Morrissey, like the Smiths. There is a fire that will never go out. I'm trying to find some musical, I don't know, something in this.
I was actually showing this to, I mean, the beginning of it to my friend who's a musician, and he was like, "This is the most boring song I've ever seen."
It's a bit of a
um,
ramble.
yeah. Um, I will pile evil on them, eat up my arrows on them. Horrible famine, non-stop plague, murderous pestilence. I'll send animals with teeth to them.
Not the animals with dentures, the ones with teeth. You don't want animals gumming at them, trying to gnaw them.
And poisonous creatures in the dust. Those outside will feel the sword, and fear inside.
So I'm gonna go with staying inside and just being scared instead of dying by swords. That's my choice, I think.
It's kind of like the sword virus.
Yes.
Fear inside, indeed. Uh, the young man and young woman, the baby and the old man. I could make them dust, destroy their memory from humankind. But I am stopped by the angry enemies who might see things go wrong and say, "We did this with our hands. Jehovah had nothing to do with us."
So this is a theme in this. It all comes down to God's narcissism. He doesn't destroy them because he's worried that somebody else will take credit. Not that he cares about the people or that he wants them to stay alive, but he doesn't want his name denigrated.
Well,
Oh, very
you
nice.
better not do such evil things.
Mm-hmm.
They are a nation that lost their minds. They have no thought in them. If they were smart, they'd think about this and what might come after. How could one chase away 1,000 or two fight with 10,000? Unless their rock has sold them out and Jehovah abandoned them, their rock is not like our rock, and our enemies are criminals. Their vines are from stone, from the vineyards of Amorah. Our grapes are poison to them, a bitter cluster. Our wine is the poison of sea monsters, the cruel prison of vipers.
Song's getting really off track and weird now.
It's all packed up, put it in my storage. I will have the vengeance and retribution the moment they step out of line. The days of destruction is close. Their future comes fast. This is terrible, terribly threatening, and just like, I don't
It's
get
less
it.
of a song and more of a threat. It's
It's just
not.
like, yeah, and this song is supposed to be about joy, right?
I would think so, yeah. And Moses built up to this for like a while in last week or last chapter, but this is what he wanted to sing to the people. It's kind of repeating the same things that this theme of Jehovah destroying them and getting mad at them has been repeated over and over again. But now it's in the song version.
Wow, very serious.
Yeah.
Jehovah will judge his nation and revenge his slaves. When he sees they have lost their hand, then no one is left, tied of free. Where are you else? He will say, the rocks you went to. Who ate the fat of your offerings and drank the wine from your things? Let them come up and help you and protect you. Then you'll see that it was me. I am the one, and there are no Elohims other than me. I bring death and I give life. I hurt and I heal.
Jeez.
No one can save you from me. I'm sorry, but this doesn't feel like anything about life or healing. This is just
No.
continuous threats.
No. It's not very loving.
When I put my hand up to the sky, I say, I am alive forever. If I wet my lightning sword, take a hold of justice in my hands, I will bring vengeance on those who trouble me and retribution to my haters. This kind of sounds just like someone who is so miserable and just has absolutely zero love for humanity.
Yes, that's God.
Arrows
This is God.
this is terrible. Arrows will become drunk with blood as my sword eats meat. The blood of the fallen and the prisoners from the heats of the enemy Paroas. all you tribes out there, you better praise this nation because he will avenge his slaves' blood and bring vengeance to those who trouble him and redeem his people's earth.
And that's the end of the song. It started out so pretty and nice, and then
This is the
really took a
bloodiest
turn.
murder,
Yes.
unloving, threatening. Like, hey, everyone, you better, I don't know what, because I'm all gonna kill you. I'm just gonna destroy everyone.
It's all you better stay in line and follow my rules exactly to the letter, or I'm going to. So this they didn't cover this in yeshiva growing up.
No, I mean, but it doesn't sound that unfamiliar in a sense that,
Yeah.
a lot of the way I was personally raised is definitely threatening. Like, if you don't behave this way, God will punish you. If you don't dress like this, you will be punished. If you don't follow this rule, you will be punished. And there's a lot of like punish, punish, punish. So this, this as even though it's been years and years since anyone has tried to teach me any type of Jewish, God talk, um, I'm again reassured that none of it is uh, worth even a moment of my time.
Well, thank you for giving me the time for this at least.
Well,
Well,
since
well,
it's because it's art, I'm able to give my time to it.
yes, thank you. That's chapter 50, which I think that's the end of the terror talk or the bloody. I mean, for me, it does. I feel like there is kind of an inspiration for horror writing and like really sadistic stuff because they do go into a lot of interesting language describing what the punishments will be. Completely unnecessary, but
It's true.
I
It's
suppose
really
interesting.
dark
Yeah.
and yeah, just kind of like almost makes your mind go like places like, wow, this is just so scary. It's like the blood or like the I don't know. It's yeah, it this I feel like this was written to really torture people's minds.
I think so, to really terrify them. Well, we still have two more chapters, and there's much less fear in them. This is chapter 51, in which the people are reminded to memorize the song, Deuteronomy 32:44 to 32:47.
Hmm. Okay. um, Moshe came with Yeshua, the son of Nun, and said all of the words of this song in the ears of the nation.
So they were having a great time after that.
Moshe finished saying all of these words to all of Israel. Listen to all of these words with your heart, he said, that I warned you about today. Teach them to your children so they guard them and do all the words of this Torah. This is not a simple thing. This is your life I'm talking about. In this thing, your days will be long on the land you're crossing the Yarden to in order to take over.
That's chapter 51.
I'm sorry, but like, how did anyone decide that it's a good idea to keep listening to them at this point?
Yeah, I I can answer. I mean, it's kind of Stockholm syndrome a little bit. Like they've
That
been with this, they've been trapped in this for so long that this is just what they've been doing. I
yeah, this
mean, there's part of it is I think it keeps repeating this cycle where it describes like the good things that God will do and then terrifies them with the really bad things he's going to do and then it's like no, he'll remember you and he'll bring you back and he'll give you this. I mean, it's also a people where science doesn't really exist yet and nobody really has any idea why food grows out of the ground, so they're terrified all the time of nothing, like just the ground not growing anymore or the rain not coming or things not working and you know somebody from outside of the tribe coming and killing everybody because the world is a brutal place. So this is kind of maybe hopeful. I don't know, the idea that they have this rock, this god that will protect them and do good things for them. They just follow every single one of his arbitrary rules to the
right.
letter
But it's
forever.
also this, it's like exactly like you said, it's coming from a place of fear.
Yeah.
Um, so people have this hope in a scary thing that makes promises like an abusive, partner,
Oh, totally.
uh, like, oh, I'm gonna be a dick to you, but if you do this thing for me, I will buy you a flower.
Yeah,
And then I will just keep treating you like shit anyways, because, I'm in charge here.
exactly. You have to listen to everything I say,
Yeah,
or if you step out of line, you're gonna get it. But I'll be nice to you if you do everything I say. I
exactly.
mean, yeah, God throughout this thing is a very abusive, narcissistic character. It's not great. Not a great model for authority for the world, I think personally.
I agree
If
with you
we could
100%.
move beyond that, it'd be really cool. Anyway, this is chapter 52, in which Moses takes one last look at the land he will never ever enter. Deuteronomy 32:48 to 32:52, speaking of God's pettiness, abusiveness, and narcissism.
Go up to Mount Avarim, Jehovah said to Moshe,
Moshe is
to Mount,
about to die now.
hmm, to Mount Nevo. That's in the land of Moab, in front of Jericho. And look at the land of Canaan that I'm going to give to the sons of Israel. You'll die on the mountain you're about to go up and be gathered to your nation like Aaron your brother when he died on Mount Hor and was gathered to his nation, because you went against me within the sons of Israel at the waters of Mrivat Kadesh in the desert of Sin by not protecting my holiness within the sons of Israel.
So, like I said, God is really shitty boss. Really mean. He's like making an example of Moses right before they go into the land.
This is terrible. This is really, really terrifying. Again, like sacrifice, like, you know, killing something in front of you so that you are fucking petrified forever to stay in line.
Yes. It's a good thing it didn't happen.
Well, someone's wild imagination went there.
Yeah.
You could see the land from afar, but you can never go there. The land I'm going to give to the sons of Israel.
That's chapter 52. That's Parsha number 10. That's Lend Me Their Ears, which started off so pretty and took a very dark turn into the death of the character who's led us through all of this. Thank you so much for reading that, Sarah, and getting through
Wow,
it.
this is definitely one of the weirdest things I've probably read in my adult life.
You should
Um,
listen to the other podcasts, episodes of this podcast. Um, Thank you. So now is the part of the show called the Devar Torah, which literally means Torah word. So I was wondering if you could sum up everything that we've just read into a single word.
Lies.
Okay. How come?
You're asking how come?
Yeah,
Oh, because just I mean I from my personal experience, is it okay if I take my personal experience into this?
absolutely.
Um,
Definitely. I want you to.
I just feel like there was always this kind of threat, and particularly in my story, I come from a community that's like just really about fear and
Yeah.
fear of God, and like, they'll scare you with words like, if you do this, you'll get struck by lightning, or if you step out of the religious world, you will end up a drug addict on the street, or a prostitute, or whatever things they feel are you know bad.
Yeah.
um well, let me tell you, that's not true.
Right.
um the more you educate yourself and the more you learn about the truth, the more you realize that the whole Bible is just made up, and all of religion is a way to keep people controlled.
Mm-hmm.
And this God character that they keep talking about is just evil and scary, and doesn't really care about suffering or pain.
No.
um and it's just this monster, basically, that even though they make it sound like this God is offering good things as well, um he just goes on, like, the way they, like, what I just don't even understand. I'm sorry, I just don't understand how anyone would even buy into this. It's just so obvious that it's bullshit.
Yes. I mean, I think it's hard because it's generations and generations and generations of people being taught this and being having that fear instilled in them from when they're very, very young, and it's hard to push against that and break out of it, especially if there's the social control as well. Like if you're in a world where that's what you believe and everyone around you believes. And like you said, there is that fear. That fear, I mean, I come from modern Orthodox background, so it wasn't as strong, but there's still people who try to keep you in line by using that fear of what could happen to you if you leave. And I think it comes from these kind of parshas. Like, I think there are people who try to say that, and I'm very conflicted about Judaism in a lot of ways, in about many different things about the idea of God, about how it's conceived. But you know, I don't think you can say that using that fear to control people is not a part of the religion, because it definitely is. Like, it's in these chapters. It's very clearly in these chapters. Um, and yeah, it's hard when it goes back and that's your entire world to leave it. And I understand why people don't, but it's scary that people keep using this and using really the model of this scary, narcissistic, fear-based, controlling God to create their societies and their communities. That's not good. That's scary, and it comes from this. Um, my word was blood. So I feel like every time I have a guest on, I take a very different approach to this, because for me, especially in this book in this season, there have been a lot of episodes or chapters or parshas that are similar themes. So to me, like, this one was particularly bloody for some reason. Like, there's just a lot of blood imagery, and that is interesting to me too. I also feel really disappointed by the song. I feel like you could have called a bunch of the other stuff in this book a song and it would have been fine. But there is something like that literary tradition of a character having like a song or a long poem that they recite, is very old and is part of this. Like, you see it in Lord of the Rings or like Beowulf or something like that. That's interesting.
Yeah, but I don't know. For me, like I said before, the association of song has always
Yes.
felt something more sentimental, um, about love, about sorrow, about, hope,
Yeah.
um, and, about unity. And this is just the song of fear,
Yeah.
the song of destruction. I mean, maybe it could be turned some, like, I don't know, some like dark metal,
Death metal.
death metal.
I think so. Yeah, we can find a band to put this to music. See if we can get a recording. I think it is the kind of like weird. I mean, Moses is a weird character. He's got this weird like respect and love for this God character that's abused him for so long, and this is his send off to him. This like poem that he's written about his power and his terror, and how mean he is. It's weird stuff.
Crazy.
I try to find something positive in all of this,
Hmm.
whenever I end these things, if I can. I'm trying to think. I mean, from a literary perspective, what is interesting though too is he talks about like following this Torah, and one thing that I've been trying to like keep a watch out for, so to speak, is because our tradition is that we have these 5 books. We have this Torah, the Chumash, whatever it's called, um, and the belief is that it was written by Moses, or that it's the word of God. Like, every word in it is the word of God. But at no point in this text, um, is it explicitly said that anybody wrote down all 5 of this going back to Bereshit. And Moshe mentions this Torah, but he's really just talking about like the teaching that he's just said so far. So there's one episode left. Maybe it's going to happen, but I still haven't seen it yet. Um, there is something about like making Yehoshua his heir, passing on this to Yeshua and making an example. I don't know. Whatever I do, it's dark. There's nothing light in this one. I
No.
do, I do like the wings of eagles. That was nice imagery, though. At the beginning, it was nice. I want to stay in that place.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to go about life, is to try to stay in the place that's actually positive
Yeah,
and
exactly.
somewhat inspiring.
Yes, exactly. That part was nice. The God bringing the rains on time. All
Yeah.
the weird things, the butter and milk and the honey and
I
the.
feel like maybe this was written in this way to get people lured in.
I think so. Yeah, it's like a what is it? A compliment sandwich where you start with the nice thing, you attract people in, and then you have the fear
Yeah.
or the criticism. I think that's about it. We can close up. Where can people find you online? Where can people see your art, and where can they see your art in person when it's not out on the street?
Um, I post my daily happenings, so the quick things I do on the street, but also, some of the more serious work I do on my Instagram, which is Sara Erenthal Art. Um, but I also have a website, but where I have a bigger, sort of more organized way for people to see the different types of work I do, the street work, the studio work, mural work, and also where people can read a little more about my story. Um, I have a studio where my work is available for viewing and purchasing. And I usually allow people to see the work by appointment. And these days I've been doing more virtual studio visits. Uh, every every once in a while I have a show, but I have nothing scheduled right now. I have a couple of murals around the city. One in one of the more recent ones I did on Fourth Avenue and Union Street in Park Slope, Gowanus area. I
Hmm.
have a mural at Allen and Delancey. A couple works in Bushwick. Things also like get made and then I make work and then they get painted over, and like a lot of things are just very ephemeral. I have some work in Berlin and Montreal, New Orleans, Tel Aviv. I have a lot of stuff. Um, yeah, but yeah, my website is a really it's saraerenthal.com if anyone is interested in just getting a more general idea of what I'm about.
Cool. Yeah, go
And
check
my
her out.
Instagram is the fun sort of bloggy more type thing.
Yes, it's very, very fun and enjoyable to watch. And keep your eyes peeled if you live in Brooklyn or Manhattan, because you might be, especially Lower Manhattan, you might see something. Especially the Crown Heights, Prospect Lefferts Garden, Flatbush area, I think, and Park Slope. As always, you can check out the podcast on Facebook, facebook.com/OMGBible, Twitter at OMGWTFBible. We're on Instagram at OMGWTFBible. If you like the show, please rate and review us on iTunes. We're on all the podcasting places. It really helps. If you want to share the show, a way to do it is to tell somebody you're going to give them like a cookie, or you're going to play you're going to play a great song for them, a really amazing song that they're going to love, and then put this episode on and see how they feel about it. Um, as always, I want to thank Sara. I want to thank you so much for reading that with me, and for trying to find the beauty and the ugliness of that song. Um, I can't believe I'm still calling it a song. As always, I want to thank everybody out there for listening, and please be sure to tune in next time, because next time in the Bible,
The end.